Super Rugby Trans-Tasman power rankings after 4 rounds. It's getting a bit interesting. I think round 4 was probably my favourite round of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman thus far. Pretty close games for the most part. No real huge blowouts. I mean, the Waratahs got a bit of a hiding, but at least they scored some points. I will go through and rank the 10 teams. It's a little bit differing from what is on the log, which is, I guess, the idea. Who's in form, who's coming out of form, how are the teams looking. And, yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts on how you would rank them if you were doing the same. 10th. I have actually shifted these guys down a spot, and that is the Waratahs. Mainly because I've moved these guys, and that's the Rebels. I've moved them up based on their most recent game against the Chiefs. Neither side has been that great, to be fair, and these guys have been 9 and 10 for weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just the trending, I think, is slightly, ever so slightly, in favour of the Rebels at this point. The Rebels are actually able to score tries. They've, I think, scored more tries every week since the start. They didn't score any tries in the first round. I think they scored 2 in the second round, 4 in the third round, and then 5 in the last game. And the Waratahs have kind of been consistently just scoring 20-odd points in all their games. But the Rebels, at least in terms of points conceded, aren't quite as bad as the Waratahs. The Rebels have conceded 50, 35, 42, and then 36. Whereas the Tars have conceded 64, 48, 54, 59. The fewest points they have conceded is 48, which is a problem, no matter how many points you're scoring. So that's scoring. That's your 9 and 10. The next one I've got is, unfortunately, the Force. And I don't want to be a downer on the Force, because I actually think the Force put in a pretty good shift at the weekend, man. They pushed the Crusaders. The trouble for the Force is the Brumbies have had a win, and so have the Reds. So it's hard to put a team which is winless over a team which has had a win. If there was like another line, like I feel like there's a gap at the moment between these two teams. It feels like the Force maybe should be over here just in terms of the aesthetics. But yeah, they pushed the Crusaders pretty hard, which was pleasing. Everyone was writing the Force off, that they were going to get absolutely destroyed, and, you know, they lost, but it was a competitive game, and it was a really entertaining watch. So, again, the Force are 8th, but I don't want to be a big downer on them. Next, I've moved these guys. They've taken the Force's spot at number 7. I've moved the Brumbies up. They finally got back home, and that meant they finally got a win. Now, they were pretty lucky in terms of Geordie Barrett missing 2 kicks. And I've seen some people say if the Brumbies had taken that bloody try they scored and moved it a fair bit closer to the posts, which they could have done, that may have taken the posts element beyond it, which is probably true as well. Showboating is what I saw some people call it. But either way, a win is a win is a win. You take the win all the way to the bank. It was a 2-point win. It honestly just makes me wonder what the Brumbies might have been able to do had they not had a 3-game away stint to start the competition. But it's a win, so I'll put them up a spot. It's been a bit of a mixed tour. Good game, 2 bad games, and then back home, it's a good game. So kind of a 50 record, but still just the 1 win. I have kept the Reds steady, despite the fact that the Brumbies did have a win and the Reds lost. The Reds didn't lose by a heck of a lot, and they played the currently top of the log Blues side. So I guess give them a bit of credit for pushing the Blues all the way to the 80th minute. Obviously, if they are the champions in Australia, you would like them to be getting wins at home. But yeah, this wasn't the performance they had against the Crusaders where they were shocking. This was a bit of fight in that Red side. And remember, the Reds had some late changes to their side as well. So for them to have those disruptions and still get as close as they did, I'll give them a little bit of credit and leave them there at 5. Also leaving these guys at 5th. The Chiefs were the first Kiwi team to drop a game, and they needed to bounce back and get a solid win. Now, the Chiefs are another team who've had a bit of disruption in terms of not being able to come back to Hamilton to play their home game. They had to play it in Sydney. But they really struggled past that Rebels side in a game which I thought was pretty entertaining, but I think the Chiefs coach is on record as saying they should have been able to put them away. They didn't put the Rebels away. It was it was a bit of a struggle. So, yeah, they've got one game left to kind of bounce back and show us what else they can do. Disruptions from their end is having Damien McKenzie, who's such a key part in everything they do, suspended, but sometimes you need to be able to make those adjustments. Rounding out the second row, I've got the Hurricanes. They had to drop just after I moved them up as well. I was just starting to put a bit of faith in them as they were going up the board. I had them low to start with. They've been inching their way up the board every week as they've just racked up the wins. And finally, they dropped that game away to the Brumbies. Yeah, they just needed to win. They just needed to win, and they kind of blew that. So they'll be disappointed. I was talking to my old man actually this morning about the Hurricanes. He was kind of giving me his ratings on the New Zealand coaches, and his lowest rated one, surprisingly, is Jason Holland, saying he's not, he's not doing what he needs to be doing, and he's kind of failed to act in terms of signing some players. But I kind of said to him, we do have to remember they've got a bunch of injuries. Well, remember TJ left to go overseas. That's automatically a huge hole to fill, but also Jackson Garden-Bishop, Hickey are injured, so they're having to play Love or Ledger, like guys that they hadn't planned on starting in the 10 jersey throughout the season. It's such a key position, so there you go. Fourth for them. The Highlanders are the guys who I've moved up. Now, I honestly think they're going to be ruining some missed bonus points at this point. I gave the Highlanders a bit of stick earlier in the season for missing some bonus points, and now they are second on the log with one game to play. And they've got about an 11 points difference over the Crusaders. So if they get a bonus point win and the Crusaders get a bonus point win, it's probably, I think, going to come down to points difference. But the Highlanders have got the Brumbies away, whereas the Crusaders have got the Rebels. And I feel like I would back the Crusaders to beat the Rebels by more than I would back the Highlanders to beat the Brumbies, especially if what we saw last week with the Brumbies is true. I mean, the Rebels also showed some encouraging improvement, but I still think that statement holds true. We'll see. Highlanders are going to miss... What was that game? Was it the Force one where they dropped that bonus point right at the death? Right now, that's looking pretty brutal. But still, third spot for them. Undefeated. Can't complain too much. The Blues I've got in second, getting a good win over the Reds, a game that could have been a bit of a trap. So the Blues are top of the log. Undefeated, they've picked up the most bonus points. They are clear. They've got a really good points differential, clear number one. They just need to get a win over the Force next week. That's their potential trap. That remember the Hurricanes fell into a trap this week just gone. There's a bit of a trap for the Blues, but they're at home. They should be able to get a win against the Force. If they can do that, they could potentially secure a home final for the first time in forever. So fingers crossed the Blues don't choke it away. I have got them in second. I've still got them behind the Crusaders. Now, when the Crusaders dropped their bonus point at the weekend, it looked like they were dead and buried, but then the Hurricanes did them, well, the Brumbies did them a favour of losing. So the Crusaders are absolutely in the hunt now. They are also not defeated. They are undefeated. They haven't looked, they've been a little bit lackluster, but that's just because the standards they set are so high. So the Crusaders have a big chance going into this final round of making another final. We will have to wait and see. But yep, that's how I've got it. I mean, you can make an argument for the Blues to be above the Crusaders based on the log. But no way in hell I'm putting the Crusaders below the Blues at this point in the season. That would just be bad old luck. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. How would you rank the teams if you were ranking them? And yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you guys. Bye.